Good morning, YouTubers. Coming at you this morning, back in the car. Used the motorcycle yesterday, so, I talked in a recent video about scheduling your YouTube posting, having a calendar, some sort of scheduling tool so that you consistently post 1 to 2 videos a week. If you're a newer YouTuber or if you're getting started, Tuesday's my usual day to post, but yesterday I was on the motorcycle and then I had some other stuff going on in the evening. So I was going to post a video on what's called the debt snowball. Sorry about that glare. I'll be turning here in just a moment. The debt snowball, also the debt avalanche, but really focusing more on the debt snowball. That's the get out of debt technique that I like teaching. I do, touch on the avalanche when I teach that. And also relating it back to side hustles, how to come up with the extra money to get your debt snowball going without crimping your lifestyle. Now, some people choose to do that, but I'll talk about that in the video. Because I wanted to bring in some other content, actually go in and out of video and sharing a example on a spreadsheet. I'm not going to do that video yet. I'll probably do the debt snowball, debt avalanche video either this weekend or next weekend. Next Tuesday, I'm kind of redoing my schedule and calendar for videos. I don't have it written down quite to the degree that I want, that I even encouraged others to do, right? I'm not going to act like I'm some perfect YouTuber. Obviously, this is a new channel, or not a new channel, but a channel that I'm working on growing, not holding myself out as some master YouTuber with thousands or even hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers. I think this morning I added number 348. So just to be real, right, and be honest. Now, I am striving to continue to grow the channel, would like to see it get monetized here soon. Definitely this year. That's one of my goals for this year. But as Myron Golden teaches, talk about Myron actually a couple times this morning, as Myron teaches, we need to have goals, but we really should have the goal of becoming the person that would allow us to reach the goal and more. Because once you become that person, and this is something we teach at my Five Rings Financial company, that once you become that person, the success comes. If the success comes before you become that person, you'll lose it. You'll fall back into other habits. You'll stop doing whatever it was that made you successful, or you will have just been a beneficiary of luck, if you believe in that, or just a happenstance, and you can't repeat it. But if you become the person capable, it's why you see people become wealthy in a business or entrepreneurial type role, lose everything, and then get it back, because they are the kind of person to build a business. They are the kind of person to invent a product or a service and deliver it to the market. But if they never get it back, that's when you see that most likely what Shakespeare calls a tragic flaw, and they never overcame it. But that's not really the point of the video this morning. The video of this morning is on the importance of financial literacy, financial education, and doing it yourself. And I'm going to tell my story, not because my story is so great or so unusual, but I think it's illustrative of what I mean by our financial literacy, our financial education, our financial knowledge is on us. Myron Golden talks about it, right? Our stories aren't that important unless they illustrate something for someone else, they empower someone else, they motivate someone else. The only person that's interested in our story besides us is our mom. And, my mom had to live my story. She had to watch me develop as a person and hope I would turn out okay. Still worries about me. She's 89, I'm 59. I'm still her little boy. We talked about that yesterday because I was on my motorcycle, as I mentioned. But I want to talk to you because what came up was this morning, one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of is military folks. It's called Military Money Matters. I think it's a pretty good group overall. But like another couple groups I'm part of, it came out of Financial Peace University, and originally was hardcore dedicated to Dave Ramsey's principles that he teaches in Financial Peace University. And I will tell you, Financial Peace is one of the first financial books I read. In a lot of ways, I agree with Dave Ramsey, but there are a few ways I don't. And there are a lot of ways I don't agree with some of the other financial gurus. And I'll post a link to a really interesting book by David McKnight called The Guru Gap. Some friends of mine have read it. I'm about to read it. And it talks about all these gurus that are in our financial media, in our public media, popular media, that are giving financial advice, but there's two problems with it. The first problem is anytime you're going to give financial advice, and even myself here on YouTube, I'll admit it, I'm giving advice on YouTube, and who knows how many people watch it, right? Right now, not a whole lot, but over time, there could be hundreds or thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of people watching my financial content, just like they watch Ramsey or Suze Orman, or, Tony Robbins is now giving a lot of financial advice as well as personal development advice. One of the good things about Tony Robbins' advice is his son is in the industry, and he is learning from his son, actually, a lot of what goes on that we take for granted, because there are things that we have to be honest about. And first off is all of us, no matter who you are, is talking your book. Now, I don't have a book yet. I'm working on one, but I am in the industry. I am licensed as a life insurance agent, so I believe in life insurance. There's some other products that are related to the life insurance side of the financial industry that I am a huge fan of. Now, I hope that I am intellectually and morally honest enough to say they're not one size fit all, right? That's one of the real problems with these gurus, is they say things like buy term and invest the rest. Well, there are two problems with that. First off, term insurance, especially death-only term insurance, pays out the least of any kind of life insurance. It's a huge percentage of term policies never pay the benefit. Now, that's great if you live 20 or 30 years and you outlive your policy. My wife had a 20-year term policy on her when our daughters were younger, and thankfully, very thankfully from my perspective and our daughter's perspective, she outlived that policy, so it never paid out. We paid for it for 20 years, and we didn't, the only benefit we got from it was peace of mind. But there are a lot of other term policies that people get and they stop paying for one reason or another. Either money gets tight, finances get tight, maybe, they get a different policy, which is good if they get a better policy than the one they had to stop paying for the other one, or they just stop paying for it. And, they go, well, I'm not going to die. Well, then what happens when they do die? Or they outlive the policy and then they're in their 50s or 60s, maybe even 70s, and it gets much more expensive, or they've had a medical event and they can't get another policy. So having some permanent life insurance, if you have a need, if you want to leave a legacy, and also I'll get to it in a second about education and one thing that happened to me in my story. The second thing is that whole buy term and invest the rest. Most of us do not invest the rest. Or if we invest the rest, we don't necessarily know how to invest it. Now, investing in anything, in my mind, is better than not investing at all or just eating pizza. Buy term and buy pizza is what we see a lot of people do. But at the same time, those of us that are my age, we've lived through some pretty nasty market corrections. Right now, we're seeing the market come down and they call it a correction. But I'm talking the 40 and 50% corrections that we had in 2000, 2001, and 2008, 2009. And, a lot of my friends' parents needed that money in 08, 09. So even if they had bought term and invested the rest, all of a sudden in 09, they watched 50% of their retirement savings go away. Some of them had to continue working. Some of them had to make hard choices about retirement lifestyle. So even if you're buying term and invest the rest, because the beauty of most permanent life insurance, now there is a product called Variable Life. I don't market that. I never have. it is variable, and it can go down when the market goes down, and that's a really risky product in my mind. But there's many different forms of permanent life insurance, most of which never lose value. Whether it's whole life that's earning a dividend, whether it's universal life and a product called indexed universal life that goes up when the market goes up and then locks in those gains. But this video isn't really going to be just about life insurance. It's about why we need to do financial literacy education, and it's on us. When I got my start investing in savings, I went to a company that's quite famous for working in the military market. I won't name their names because first, they have a little bit of a checkered past, and also I'm not going to talk very favorably about them. They did not do me wrong. I did not lose money, okay? I did not get taken advantage of, but they tried to sell me on a permanent life insurance product, not educate me. This is why financial education, financial literacy education is so important. Now, the young former Marine captain, he and I made a connection. He got me started down this path, so I am thankful for that. I'm grateful that a friend of mine on the ship referred me to this company. I'm not mad about that, but I was 24 years old. I was getting what is called Serviceman Group Life Insurance. That's a great life insurance benefit that you get as being part of the military. It's group term, so it's the cheapest. It's guaranteed. You get it because you're in the military, and it almost pays out 100% of the time. There are a couple things you can do that if you're doing a criminal activity while being active duty, they might not pay. But if you go to a war and get killed, you're a test pilot, you get killed, you're a bomb tech, SGLI still pays. So I had that coverage. I was single at the time, had no financial responsibilities other than to myself. So I really, truly did not need more life insurance from the perspective of the death benefit, or now the living benefits and death benefit life insurance provides, if you're following me, right? There was nobody else responsible for, that I was responsible for financially. I hadn't quite met Jeannie yet. I didn't have any kids. You know, I wasn't even in a serious relationship at that point. And my mom was my beneficiary of my Serviceman Group life insurance. Well, I just told you, she still worries about me many, many years later as her little boy. She wanted her little boy to live, not get a big SGLI check. But what this agent did from that company is he mentioned to me, well, you know, we do this permanent life insurance. You could get it started for, I don't even forget what it was, $50 or $75 a month. And he talked a little bit about the benefits, but he didn't really sit me down and say, John, do you really understand what I'm talking about? Do you really understand that when you build money inside permanent life insurance, it disappears from Uncle Sam? And here in California, Uncle Gavin. They're not even my favorite uncles, right? You know, I don't want them being partners in my retirement. Even worse, of him not educating me on the tax power of permanent life insurance. That was pre-Roth IRA and Roth 401k days. So even though I could start an IRA, and I did with that company, that's where I first bought mutual funds. And boy, I could tell you just hilarious how stupid I was about even how mutual funds work in those days. But I started an IRA, but I couldn't start a Roth IRA, and I was basically not paying income taxes in those days. I mean, my effective tax rate was something like 2 or 3%. And I'm paying Mississippi income tax. I hadn't become a California resident. I hadn't been stationed in a state without income tax. So I think I was paying like 2 or 3% to Mississippi too. So, I mean, it was nothing. You know, now, man, I'd love to only be paying 2 or 3% in taxes, and I could have invested money or saved money, not invested money, saved money inside a tax-advantaged permanent life insurance plan. And here I am 35 years later. We do an illustration, I'll do it tonight on our Money 101, that shows what 40 years of consistently investing $5 a day in a tax-advantaged account, whether it's life insurance, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, what it could turn into. we're doing fine financially. I have no complaints realistically, but had he educated me, or had I educated myself, instead of just going, no, I don't want that, I don't need death insurance, well, I need the tax advantages. I would be worth, my family would be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars more for $5 a day that I, good grief, I don't even remember what I spent money on yesterday, let alone when I was 24, right? I mean, yeah, the studio apartment I lived in that was a joke, but I'm serious, right? Well, the good thing is, the moral of the story is, after I walked out of that meeting, after I started investing, I had money going into mutual funds every month. I didn't even know how mutual funds worked. And I called the mutual fund company, embarrassed myself with some really basic questions. And that's when I decided, that was before I got into the industry, but I decided this is on me. And I began reading one book on finances every single month. Now, I'm a little geekish about that. I'm not telling you you've got to do that. I would tell you, I would say, watch a lot of YouTube videos, read or listen to some books. As I just talked about, Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game. I actually have a quick review of that on my channel. And now, calling it a book is a little bit of a misnomer. That thing is almost an encyclopedia. If you get the actual printed out book instead of listening to it, you could do curls with it. You could read for 15 minutes, do curls for 5 minutes, read for 5 or 10 more minutes. You'd both work out your brain and work out your arms, because that thing is a brick. One of my friends uses his copy as a doorstop, actually. But no, I'm just kidding. But, we joke about that. It's big enough. But it's got a lot of good information in there. I am an investor in Berkshire Hathaway. That's not an endorsement of their stock. It is an endorsement of, every year about this time, they put out their annual report. And Warren Buffett writes a letter to shareholders. And it talks about how Berkshire Hathaway is doing, and it talks about his mindset and how he views investing, buying companies, buying stock, the state of the economy. It's great reading, and every single one of those is available to read. And they would take, 10, 15 minutes each. But we got to be honest, right? None of us are as good of an investor as Warren Buffett. I'm sorry. You might be the next Warren Buffett getting your start, but you can do that. Let's talk a little bit about the gurus. Let's talk a little bit about Dave Ramsey. All right, I already said there are some things about Dave Ramsey I love. I'll talk about the debt snowball. That is something he's a big champion of. Getting out of debt, managing your debt, the difference between good and bad debt. Dave Ramsey is an expert. Dave Ramsey is one of my favorites when it comes to that topic. When it comes to balancing why we earn money and investing and saving for our future, creating a legacy, which I believe is a very valid, godly thing to do, and also being charitable, I agree with Dave Ramsey 100%. But I will be very honest, Dave Ramsey misses the boat when it comes to life insurance. He dates back to the same generation that I used to be part of and my mentors used to be part of, that were such a strong believer in getting a lot of protection using term life insurance that they overemphasize it. Not that having a big chunk of term insurance is a bad thing, but it's not the only thing. The other thing is, Dave Ramsey has not caught on about living benefits, term or permanent life insurance yet. I don't know why. It's not that any life insurance company out there could convert to offering living benefits quite easily, because there are new entrants in the living benefits game every year, right? More and more life insurance companies are realizing what the companies that pioneered living benefits realize, that they have the cash reserves and this is the right thing to do. Dave Ramsey is not on board with that yet, and the companies that he recommends and the people that are affiliated with Financial Peace University, they don't get that yet. They don't see it. I didn't see it either. When I first showed up at a 5 Rings Financial Money 101, I knew we did the up and sideways indexed accounts. That's why I was there. But then when one of the co-founders of the company who was presenting that day started talking about living benefits, he even pointed at me, or Simi pointed at me, knew he got me, because I almost fell out of my chair. To me, there are a couple uses for death-only life insurance. They're very specific. They're very niche. I think everybody that realizes they have a need for life insurance has a need for living benefits life insurance. That's just one aspect of how we should educate ourselves. Suze Orman, others, they also under poo-poo both permanent life insurance and living benefits. They also, all of these gurus, except for very few, believe you should be completely invested in the stock market. Now, you should have emergency savings, but they don't. Only a few, and Tony Robbins in his book talks about indexed accounts and index strategies, not index funds, because I'll be very honest, none of us know when the market is going to crash again. I hope it doesn't. I don't want it to. I'm now at the stage of my life where if I lost 40 or 50%, it'd be very hard to come back. Not that I plan on dying very soon, but I now have a good sizable amount of assets. So do many of my clients and friends. We need to know what's out there. And I will tell you, things like these gurus, Suze Orman, Dave Ramsey, others, and CNBC, Bloomberg. I watch these channels. I used to watch them way more than I did, but we have to be honest about them. CNBC sells advertising. Bloomberg does not sell a lot, but they do sell some. CNBC is not going to teach you about all the financial products out there. They are bought and paid for by advertisers. They are bought and paid for by the stock market side of our industry. So are they going to talk about alternatives to the stock market? No, they're not, right? Their guests come from the companies that buy advertising and by companies in the stock market side. That is not necessarily an evil thing. It is a bad thing because it is imbalanced when you think CNBC is teaching people financial literacy. They're teaching one aspect of it. The stock market is a great place. The stock market creates wealth. It allows normal, average, ordinary people to buy part of companies, right? There's no way I could buy a company. Or if I did, it would be a small company. I'd have to put all my eggs in one basket and I'd be really, really at risk. Okay, the stock market allows me to buy shares of companies. Nowadays, you can even buy just one share. So that's a great thing. I'm not anti-stock market. I'm anti-thinking that something like watching CNBC. Now, there's certain shows on CNBC. There's certain, specials they do. There's some streaming information that you can sign up for. They'll send you. I've gotten it. I've watched it. It's not bad. But, there are other people out there. Tasty Trade. They've taught me about option trading and investing. I don't do a lot of that. I still do some conservative strategies with options. But what I'm saying is there is a lot of financial information out there. And you need to find and watch and read lots of it for two reasons. One, the broader perspective you have, the more knowledge you have. And the more likely you will not have a blind spot that hurts you if something happens in the market. Second, it's not one size fits all. I think I started talking about that early in the video. There are many ways to save and invest. There are many ways to build financial security, financial wealth, legacy money. What works for me and what I'm comfortable with may not be what works for you. I learned about rental real estate. I have educated myself about rental real estate. I've even rented out our homes from time to time. But I have found that even though the education proved to me the numbers work, if you can have long-term rentals, and I don't mean long-term like long-term, like everything you rent has to be a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year lease. You could do a long-term rental with Airbnb, renting it out short-term, but over time, rental real estate is a great way to make money, to build wealth. It's just not a good one for me. It just doesn't fit who I am. I would rather do some other things. Some of my friends are entrepreneurial to a fault. So as soon as they have much money, they start another business. Some of them have built a succession of businesses and have built wealth in one business, or they've built a number of companies and their job is working each of their companies sequentially or a few hours a day, right? They might work 9 or 10 or 12 hours, but they're working 3 different companies, 3 different entrepreneurial pursuits. But how are you going to know how to do that unless you educate yourself? So that's my real theme of this video. I just noticed I've been going for 26 minutes now. If you're still hanging out with me, I appreciate it. You're probably the kind of person that needs to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Yeah, you got to throw that in, right? It's YouTube. But, hey, I appreciate you letting me just capture some of my thoughts here. And remember, I will tell you, even if you come to one of my Money 101 events, your financial education doesn't stop there. It is truly Money 101. And it can give you some peace of mind. We can talk to you about living benefits, talk to you about our up and sideways accounts where you never lose money, but that's not the end all be all. I've got friends that work with us, but they also have rental real estate. They also trade Bitcoin and other cryptos. I'm not saying we are the only ones with any kind of truth. We do teach true concepts, but it's not exclusive. Get out there, read books. Hey, if you've never done Financial Peace University and you're struggling to get out of debt, you're struggling to know where to start, I am not anti-Financial Peace University. Again, understand that they don't know about living benefits, term life insurance, and some of the other tax advantages. And if you and Suze Orman click, just understand that, all of us have our own perspective, right? Hey, everybody have a great day. I'll catch up with you later. See ya.